Hello and welcome to SportsBeat Live, the Chiefs postgame show. We just watched the Chiefs defeat the Cleveland Browns 22-17 in an AFC Divisional Round playoff game. The Chiefs never trailed, but boy, they made it interesting in the second half. And we're going to talk. There's so much to unpack and talk about, and we're going to do that with you all. Please send us your questions and comments. So many have already delivered their questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. And we talk to the fine writers of the Kansas City Star. Right now, we've got Sam McDowell and Sam Mellinger in the house. We've got a couple lollygaggers here, but we got the Sams, and that's more than enough to start the conversation. Guys, let's start with the latest on Patrick Mahomes. What did we hear from Andy Reid on Mahomes in his post game, Sam McDowell?
Yeah, he said that. Well, I think it was Chad Henne that used the term "in good spirits," but you know what, Blair, I'm actually going to pull up exactly the quotes that Andy Reid said because I think it's important to get it exactly right on this.
Well, while you're doing that, let's establish that something I didn't know until I heard Andy Reid after the game was that Mahomes got hit in the back of the head. Because when I was watching the replay, I was trying to find out where the concussion would have come from, and I didn't see it obviously on the tackle, but somewhere along the line he got hit in the back of the head.
Yeah, he said he got the wind knocked out of him and everything else with it. We took him out. He's doing great right now, which is a real positive as we look at this. He passed all the deals that he needed to pass, so we'll see where it goes from here. And then, of course, somebody asked him about the possibility that he could play next week, and he echoed something similar. He said, we'll see how he is tomorrow, but right now he's feeling really good.
Yeah, that's the big reveal maybe at the press conference, the Andy Reid press conference on Monday. There's a was it a 5-step protocol for return? Herbie, what can you tell us about that, and what does Mahomes have to do to be able to play next week?
Well, I will say this: Wednesday will probably be the most attended Chiefs practice of the past regular season and into the playoffs. I suspect you're going to have a full court press out there just to see if he's out there. But as far as the steps he has to take, obviously he has to go through the medical process, or as Andy Reid calls it, the deals. I don't know what the deals are, but I'm going to assume he's talking about the initial basic protocol test that he had to go through, and then he's got to be cleared by an independent doctor before he's allowed to come back to play. I will be surprised, to be honest with you, if he's actually out there Wednesday. I think when you watched him when he got up, he didn't look he didn't like he was there. But I think if we're going to take any optimism from it, the fact that he ran to the locker room is a good sign. But I think Wednesday will be the big thing. We'll all be out there. At least the guys who can get out there will be out there. Just to see, it'll be Mahomes watch this entire upcoming week.
That's I think it's important. Blair, I think it's important to note that these are 5 individual steps that he has to pass. It's not like you can take 2 or 3 at a time here. And I pulled it up. The first one, he's got to pass those baseline tests and be completely symptom free. And so tonight's going to be really important because that's going to dictate whether or not he can proceed in the rest of this process, which is you've got to do what they call dynamic stretching and balance training. Then you've got to increase those activities to include actual sports like work. And then you've got to be able to do position specific drills. And then comes the independent doctor situation, which is, your own team physician has to clear you, but as does the independent neurologist before you can actually return to play. And you can do that in a week. We saw Sammy Watkins in the concussion protocol. I think it was week 2 after the Chargers game where he got hit in the head, and he came back in week 3. So it's possible to get through these in a week. I will say it's less likely or less common than it is for a guy to actually miss a game usually when he goes through this. But not to assume that Patrick Mahomes is common in any way.
Correct. Well, one betting line is put out that the Chiefs would be a 4-point favorite over the Bills in the AFC Championship game next week with Mahomes, and a 2-point underdog against the Bills if Mahomes doesn't play. So
6 points is not nearly large enough of a swing, by the way.
And it's huge.
Right. So,
huge jump. Jeez.
All right. So he can't pass 3 out of 5. So that's too couldn't pass the majority, which would be good. But listen, there's a reason that there's an independent doctor overseeing the concussion protocol. So Vahe Gregorian has joined us, but I want to get to Sam Mellinger first. Sam, all the focus, of course, on the quarterback in this game, both because of Mahomes going out and then the way Chad Henne played for the most part over the last quarter and a half. Did not lose the lead and gets the save and relief. Made a couple of big plays, none bigger than the 4th and 1 play at the end of the game. The completion to Tyreek Hill, gutsy call and perfectly executed. Mahomes couldn't have thrown it much better than Chad Henne did on that play.
Yeah, Vahe, just wait your turn, okay? We're just we've got procedures here, all right? Yeah. Now, one thing I keep thinking about is, they talk. This team always talks. They always have about, Tyrann Mathieu uses the one heartbeat thing. Of it's not an offense and a defense, it's a team, which is a big difference from 2018. By the way, that was very much an offense and a defense. That's how they were in the locker room and everything like that. And I think about the defense picking up Chad Henne, they're in the 4th quarter and getting that last stop that they got. Because if not, I think we're talking a lot about that just inexcusable, sort of unexplainable interception on 4th and forever that Henne lobbed into the end zone. Andy Reid was very quick about, that one's on me. I don't know. I think Andy Reid says those kind of things a lot. But because the defense did that, now we're talking about Chad Henne, getting 13 and 5/8 yards on 3rd and 14, and then I love the call. Obviously, the 4th and short to go for it. It was a similar play. And Sam, were you the one that asked him about this? It was a similar play to the one at the end of the Saints game, right? Maybe not exactly the same, but a similar one to how they iced that one out. I love it. I love the call. Henne put the ball in the money, and then Tyreek got down. He just sat on the turf to keep that clock running. It was a hell of a call. It's a hell of a moment, and I think like for this team, for a franchise that like we talk all the time about how cursed they are in the playoffs, right? Well, they just lost their quarterback to a concussion. I love the poetry of Baker Mayfield completing a pass to himself. Of course, I'm going to mention that. There were just all these little things that went against them, and they won the dang game anyway. Now they're on the other side of what Chiefs fans have been living for a long time. It's a heck of a thing to watch.
I think it was the Dolphins game, right, where the Chiefs completed a play like that at the end.
Yeah.
To Clinton.
That's right. Yeah.
And then Andy Reid says after the game, "Oh, it was completely different." And then CBS showed a replay of both plays. It couldn't have been more identical. So,
right.
But that's okay. So Vahe, I know you weighed in on Chad Henne in your column for tomorrow. What'd you make of his effort?
Well, look, a couple things. One thing, though, in keeping with the spirit of the kind of the breaks or the decisions the Chiefs have made. I know we all had a lot of questions, or I think a lot of fans really had more questions than we did about it. I think we all felt like it was the right move to rest Patrick Mahomes in the regular season finale. But I don't think we could have understood it might be the right move for this reason. And look, maybe Chad Henne would have played fine, but I dare say that turned out to be a break in the favor of the Chiefs. He had a little sense of the speed of the game. He did complete 6 out of 8 passes. Who knows what happened on that long pass? You're right, Sam. Andy dove on that really fast, almost like too fast. I wish he would have said exactly why that was his fault. But look, he played pretty well. He gets the save, and I think you got into this in some of your line of questioning, Sam, too. And there was a little bit of what I wanted to work on with this was, how this team is pretty bonded, and Chad's line about being on LinkedIn instead of Twitter made me sort of think, LinkedIn is sort of the Tyrann Mathieu buzz of this team. A little bit of binding. They find a way with each other. They win different ways, and this one's totally different altogether. And I think if you haven't figured out you can purge the demons of the past Chiefs games without even using the pass to yourself with the quarterback like Sam is, you could see that in how this one played out.
All right, so what happens if the Chiefs punt it away at 4th and 1 from midfield? Browns get the ball with about 70 seconds to go with no timeouts. Probably somewhere between the 15 and the 20, something like that. Do you think that the Browns go down the field and get a touchdown there, Herbie?
That's a loaded question. Do I think they would have done it the way the game was going?
I think it was a big risk. I think it was a risky. It turned out great for the Chiefs, but I was going back and forth on whether they should kick it or go for it there.
I think they made the right call to go for it. You want to go ahead and just don't even give them an opportunity. The way the game was swinging for the Browns, they should have. They had a touchdown. Let's not forget the touchdown. One of the worst rules in the NFL, in my opinion, when you fumble it out of the end zone, it turns into a touchback. That touchdown there probably would have changed the whole complex of the game. But they made the right play. They made the right call to go for it.
Blair,
Can we just emphasize something, just real quick? Sorry, but if they don't get that, the Browns are already in sort of Hail Mary range without lifting a finger, and they threw it out of empty backfield. I mean, like, if that's just an incomplete pass, then it's with 2 minutes left, right? Or something like that. A little bit less.
A little under. It was under.
You don't get those 40 seconds or whatever that you would get if you got a sneak or something like that. I just thought, I'm a 4th down extremist anyway, especially with Mahomes. But I do think Mahomes changes the calculus a little bit. So that was not. Andy painted it after the game as just sort of a no-brainer. Of course, we were going for it. Maybe that's how they went through it. But I do think that the quarterback changes sort of the calculus. But I still love the call, gutsy as hell. When you can. Sorry about it.
No. I'm aching to say this just because Blair and I were here in the overflow press box at the Star, and it was as if like we were coaching the game. Like Tony Romo saying like. You can see that they're setting it up. They're just going to fake this. They're not going to move. And I'm suddenly I'm all for it at 1 second. And I'm going to Blair like, no, they can't go for this. They got to punt. They got to punt. And then they do it, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, that's how it works. I thought it was I was scared of the gamble. I know Sam McDowell will scold me because I don't have the metrics down on this, but I didn't like the risk reward factor in it. I thought the risk was too great if it failed, but obviously you have to have great conviction about what the play is. You have to love your play.
Yeah, it was a 6.1% increase on their win probability by going for it. And that did account for the fact that Chad Henne was in the game and not Patrick Mahomes. I actually, I always am in favor of going for it on 4th down. I actually would have kicked the ball there. So I really applaud the decision that won them the game. I did not think that the Browns offense was equipped to throw the ball deep. A lot of their stuff is underneath and intermediate routes, and I would have challenged them to drive 80 yards because they couldn't have got a field goal. They had to get 6. But like I said, credit to Andy Reid for making the decision. I do think the other element of this is I don't think the Browns were expecting that ball to be hiked there. I think they were telling themselves, don't jump, don't jump, don't jump. And they weren't ready to guard one-on-one with Tyreek Hill. And Chad Henne said something else interesting, which is based on their film work, they knew the Browns would be man-to-man defense. And so they knew they'd have Tyreek Hill man-to-man. And I think that probably does change the equation a little bit if you're getting that matchup on that play.
Yep. No, good points all. Look, I wonder if Kevin Stefanski's kicking himself for not going for a 4th and 9 with 4.5 minutes to go. Yeah. That's Henne gets the 3rd down completion to Darrell Williams and then the 4th down completion to Tyreek Hill, and they never get the ball back. So that it leads me to think that as we've watched the Mahomes Reid Chiefs over the last 3 years, when they've been in this position, they seem to always go for it, and it's never failed. I can't recall a 4th down on around midfield in a clutch time like that where the Chiefs went for it. Well, the Chiefs always go for it, and it failed them. It just hasn't happened. I think back to the Chargers game earlier this year, the Dolphins game, the Ravens game 2 years ago at Arrowhead, the regular season game. So I don't know. Andy knows what he's doing. I guess we can give him the benefit of the doubt. And Vahe, you made a great point, I think, about Chad Henne playing in Week 17 and the game just not being so sped up for him. He had a couple of completions. On the possession when he came into the game, the Chiefs ended up getting a field goal out of that because he had long completions to Tyreek Hill and to Travis Kelce. I believe I'm right about that. I think
Kelce, for sure, and maybe Tyreek on that too. But Kelce was the one that I remember. No, Kelce was a completion right before the interception.
That's right, because the penalty moved him back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Couple of things. Let's not forget about the defense in this game. The Chiefs last year surrendered 20 to the 49ers in the Super Bowl. That was the most, or the fewest points scored by an opponent against the Chiefs last year. And and then if you go back to the AFC title game, it was the previous year. It was 37-31. They gave up 17. So the fewest points the Chiefs have allowed in the playoff game since the Colts divisional round game 2 years ago. I think the defense played really well, had a sharp game plan. This was a team that came into the game with a terrific offensive line, third in the NFL in rushing during the regular season. Baker Mayfield, hot hand, and I thought he played pretty well for the most part today. So I give a lot of credit. It wasn't picking up fourth down or wasn't Kelce getting in the end zone. It was a Chiefs defense having a good, solid all-around game. Herbie, are you with me on that?
I'm absolutely with you on that. To me, that impressed me the most was, and you hit the nail on the head with their rushing attack. The Browns entered this game averaging 148.4 yards per game. And then what ends up happening in the first half, they only have 18 total yards rushing. And to me, I was like, holy smokes, man. They're actually shutting down Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt I was like, is he even dressed? In the first half, where is Kareem Hunt? But they didn't utilize him. Obviously, they got a little bit going in the second half, but they limited the Browns to 112 yards on the ground, and that's their bread and butter. As the running game goes, so goes the Browns' offense, and like you said, Mayfield did look good out there, but Nick Chubb hurt him with back-to-back drops in the passing game. So it's like they just could not get going, and again, that offense runs off of the running game.
RJ Weaver says, can we talk about the Chiefs D and L'Jarius Sneed is a baller? I agree with that. I think L'Jarius Sneed is having himself one heck of a rookie season and had the sack in the first half, another tackle for a loss. I feel really good when he's on the field. He's going to do well. But I gave the KC star of the game to Tyrann Mathieu. I thought it needed to be a defensive player. He got the pick. To me, that the game swung right after Tyrann Mathieu's interception and the Chiefs doinking the field goal off of that, getting no points on that turnover that they were set up deep into in Browns territory and did not pick up a first down and missed the field goal. And right after that, the Browns went on the first of their 2 touchdown drives.
Yeah, I think we'd be sort of fighting over 2 storylines had this game gone in the opposite direction. And that's one for me is Harrison Butker, because not getting any points out of that interception seemed gigantic based on the fact that the Browns came back and scored afterwards. And the second one we've already mentioned, but Chad Henne's interception, it's a bad throw. It's a bad decision. And I also don't understand the play call either. You're at the 40-yard line. To me, you try and get in field goal range and go up 8. Even if you give up a touchdown, you can still stop the 2-point conversion, win the game. But your original point's right. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu was fantastic today. So was L'Jarius Sneed. And Sneed could become a bigger factor next week because Bashaud Breeland suffered the lesser-known concussion today, and we'll see what happens with Sneed. Might have to shift back out to the outside, and he's been really good in the slot. If he has to shift back outside, or maybe they want to put Fenton outside, but Fenton, of course, missed this game. He'd have to come back and be healthy. So there's going to be some stuff to watch in the cornerback room this week.
If you put Sneed outside, don't forget he started out there anyway the first 3 games of the year when Bashaud Breeland was suspended for 4 games, and he had back-to-back interceptions. So, he's well equipped to play out there, even though he's been, like you mentioned, he has been playing in the slot, but I'm not going to worry about him if he has to slide outside.
No, I agree. I just wonder who plays the slot if you do have to move Snead outside because he's been so good there. And Snead's also been a factor on the blitz and against the run, and those are obviously more productive in the slot. So I wonder if they'd be a little bit hesitant to move him.
One specific thing about the Chiefs defense tonight too is today, whatever. The pass rush didn't have a whole lot of pressure. And I'm not dogging on those guys. That's a great offensive line and all that. I'm saying that to point out that there were a lot of snaps where Baker Mayfield was back there 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds forever, it seemed like, and there's nobody open. That's how good the coverage was downfield. And we talk a lot about, and we should, it's true, this defense being built around that pass rush. And when the pass rush can't get home, things break down on the back. But that's not what happened tonight. And I thought that was I don't know exactly what they did. We'll try and figure that out this week. But that was really, really impressive. That's as well as the coverage has been all season, I think.
Well, I'll say two things. I think the Chiefs did a good job not biting on the play fake, which is what the Browns, that's a bread and butter for the Browns.
Yeah, good point, Blair.
They always had somebody in front of Baker Mayfield and disrupted him there. But we also have to talk about what at the moment, before they went to a commercial break, what I thought was the biggest defensive play of the game. Herbie mentioned a while ago, the Dan Sorensen play. That's a touchdown, right? If Sorensen doesn't make the hit, it's a touchdown, or at least it's the Browns at the 1. And instead, Sorensen makes the contact. The fumble is created. The ball trickles through the end. The fumble goes forward, trickles out of the side of the end zone. Touchback Chiefs. Instead of it being 16-10, the Chiefs with 90 seconds to go in the half drive down and get a field goal to make it 19-13 at halftime. That is a monster play. But then there's the commercial break, and when they come back from the commercial break, it's the first time we saw a replay, or I saw a replay, and that's when Gene Stenator, the rules official, says, Sorensen led with his helmet, should have been a penalty, and the Chiefs caught a major break there. I guess after watching the replay from several angles, I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, but I think the Chiefs and Sorensen will happily pay the fine because you did save the touchdown, so to speak. But you're right. That could have been a game-changing play there.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, Melly, I know you took some heat for this, but the fact that the Browns lose the ball there and it's a Chiefs ball on the 20, that just doesn't seem like any time that we see a play like this, the fumble through the end zone or out of the end zone, talk about the punishment not fitting the crime.
I despise that rule. The defense is rewarded to a degree that is just not appropriate for not recovering the fumble. You caused the fumble, cool, congratulations, but you didn't get the fumble, which is the most important part of the fumble. I just wish, in any other spot on the field, if you fumble out of bounds, the offense gets it at the spot of the fumble, right? I get rules are different when you're at the end zone, breaking the play and all that stuff. Give them a 5-yard penalty, a 10-yard penalty, even, loss it down and give it to them at the 20 or something. But the fact that the defense is rewarded that much for not making a play, it's out of place in football. I've never understood it. It's always seemed like a bad rule to me.
We're at the point now where even Patriots coach Bill Belichick is teaching his players not to reach out and extend it because like you said, Sam, because he also hates that rule. A lot of head coaches hate that rule when it works against them.
Blair and I were talking in here, and I think Bill Cowher was one who might have said it on the halftime broadcast. He brought up the idea of maybe the better way to make this work would be a touchback, but you retain possession. Goes back to the 20, but in that case, Cleveland would have retained possession. I find that to be a lot more kind of equitable or fair, whatever you want to call it. I just don't see. It's like if you go out at the 1, oh, that's great. You're at the 1-yard line. It goes into the end zone. Oh, it's their ball. I just don't understand it.
Well, Kevin Stefanski said after the game too that that's what they teach their players, to not reach out like that in that situation. But he appreciated it was Rashad Higgins, right? The effort by Higgins. So look, big moment in the game for sure. I mean, it's a 10-point swing, right? The Browns are going to get in the end zone. Instead, the Chiefs get a field goal out of it.
That reinforces, Blair, your point too, though. You brought this up when we were here, that when Tyron intercepted that ball, that was the second turnover in 4 plays by the Browns. If the Chiefs score then, everything's different and basically over, I think.
I think so too. If the Chiefs get a touchdown after the Tyrann Mathieu interception, I think that's the game, right? It's 26-3 at that point. Browns aren't coming back. The Browns have to play totally different. You don't get, a full dose of Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the third quarter, and I just think the Chiefs win easily at that point. But Butker. We'll talk about that later in the week. I don't know if it's the holder, what's going on with the operation, but that's unacceptable to miss. The extra point was missed badly.
Badly, yeah.
And then he doinks the field goal, both to the left, didn't they? Yeah, pulled both. So, hey,
Blair, one of the audience had a question about whether I didn't see who it was. I apologize, but asking if it looked to them, any of us, like the holder. Townsend was still spinning the ball on either of those kicks. I didn't see that, but I don't know that it didn't happen. Did you guys see that?
My answer is the same as yours, but hey.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I appreciate you bringing up the question just to prove that 5 of us didn't know something, though.
At least you 4 didn't.
We usually just ignore those ones.
Was lacking.
I think we've covered players who made an impact on this game, except for one, and I want to spend a little more time on Darrell Williams. What a terrific game I thought he had. Sam McDowell. I didn't know this until you tweeted it out and made us aware. It was his first NFL start. 34 regular season games and 2 in the playoffs in 2018. First time in his start. It was a little bit of I don't know if it was a surprise that Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not dress out tonight. He was a practice scratch on Thursday, I believe, Herbie. Limited on Wednesday and Friday. But once I saw he was a scratch for a practice this week, I just thought, no, we're not going to see him. That's sort of been the Andy Reid MO over the years. But then, okay, Le'Veon Bell will get the bulk. But no, Darrell Williams gets a start, and I thought he had a terrific game for a third string back. And Andy Reid made it a point to talk about how the guy's lived in somewhat anonymity with the Chiefs in his 3 years, but he proved a lot to me tonight. I think you can ride him in the playoffs.
He was good.
Go ahead.
Well, I thought the offensive line was pretty good too. They had some penalties that hurt, but I thought they were good up front. I'm not trying to deflect credit from Darrell Williams. I do agree he deserves the praise. But the line, I mean, that's a thing we've talked about, right? And it looked today, it looked like they used these 3 weeks to shore up some of the communications and those things. That was a much better performance than we've seen in the last month of the regular season or whatever.
Do you guys know the last time the Chiefs scored as few as 2 touchdowns in a postseason game?
Herm Edwards era?
No, it's the Andy Reid era.
Oh, the Steelers game, right?
Steelers, 18-16. Yeah.
They scored 2 touchdowns in that game, and Steelers it did not overcome the Steelers' 6 field goals. So. Okay, let's start to wind down with some very first thoughts on AFC Championship game. Steelers, Bills. I'm impressed with Buffalo and Josh Allen, of course, and Stefon Diggs, and the defense played terrific on Saturday night against the Ravens. So, Sam McDowell, let's assume Patrick Mahomes plays. Does a 4-point line make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's about right. This Bills team is a Hail Mary away from being on a 12-game win streak coming into Arrowhead Stadium. I mean, they're a really good football team. There's a reason that they're in the AFC Championship. They scored more points this year than the Chiefs did. Josh Allen had a fantastic season. They did lose Zach Moss, their running back, in the first round, so they hardly even showed an inkling to want to run the ball on Saturday night. And if they have a weakness defensively, it's stopping the run. They're not good up front at either putting pressure on the quarterback or stopping the run. And they played so interestingly against Patrick Mahomes last time by playing 2 deep safeties and daring the Chiefs to run. Well, the Chiefs did, and they did effectively. And Sean McDermott, after the game, basically said that's what he would do all over again if they played him. So we'll see if he's true to his word. Of course, all that's dependent on whether or not Patrick Mahomes plays. But to me, the running game's going to have to come through again, even if Patrick Mahomes is out there on Sunday.
Yep. Okay, we'll let that stand as the collective feeling of the group on the Buffalo Bills.
Just a virtual retweet.
Exactly. Hey, Vahe, do I have this right? Mahomes 5-1 as a starter in the playoffs, and that matches Len Dawson for the most playoff victories by a Chiefs quarterback.
That's probably right. I know for sure he's 5-1. I know for sure the Chiefs were 4-16 in the previous 48 years.
Oh, okay. So maybe he passes Len Dawson.
And a little twist, I think a little record point is this is Andy Reid's 6th postseason win with the Chiefs, which makes him the Chiefs franchise record holder in postseason wins. Hank Stram had 5.
Well, I've got Dawson winning the 62 AFL Championship game, the 66 AFL Championship game, and had to go 3-0 to win the Super Bowl. Did he not?
Yeah, that's the extent of the Chiefs' postseason victories until the next wave, the next era. Right.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Yep. Okay, guys. Great conversation. I wish I could have gotten to more comments tonight. Hey, join us again. I think we'll have a bonus show for you sometime this week. Guys, keep Tuesday morning at 9:30 open on your calendars. And Herbie furls his brow.
You're like, huh? My schedule here? What's going on?
Messing with the routine.
That's right. Okay. Thanks for joining us. For Sam, Herbie, Sam, and Vahe, and our producer, Beth Welsh, we've had a great time talking to you, and we'll be back sooner than we usually are. Take care.